What's going on, everybody? This is part two of my Jag swap into my 49 Chevy truck. Before I got carried away and progressed too much, I wanted to show you guys my progress and didn't want to get too much ahead of myself and pretty much show you how I got to this point. So as you can see, it's pretty much in almost. I gotta weld a couple more plates for support and paint it up. I need to treat the frame and then bolt it back in and reassemble the entire front end. The good thing I found out or discovered when I was mocking this up, I did not have to notch the frame at all. So you can see I still have the entire stock frame intact. The reason that's good is that if I'm unhappy with the results of this front suspension, I can go ahead and unbolt it, take it out, and then proceed to, say, like a Mustang 2. So that worked out really good. But anyhow, to get to this point, what I did is basically I stripped down the entire Jaguar front suspension, took off the upper A-arms, lower A-arms, all the ball joints, bolts. I had this bead blasted to make sure it was still in good condition because it looked pretty beat up. I mean, there was a couple spots where it looked bad, a little rough, but it wouldn't compromise the strength of it, so I went ahead and used it. I painted it, but I took paint down everywhere where I had a weld, so basically down this bead here, and then here I'm gonna have to strip the paint again to weld it. But anyways, to make it, I wanted to make it bolt-in, so I cut out these templates. Again, if you haven't seen the video on how to make templates, you can go ahead and watch that. But I made templates, which is identical for both sides, transferred it to a piece of steel, cut them out, and that's your end result. I have it tied in with 3 1/2-inch bolts and 2 3/8-inch bolts. You can see back there. All grade 8 hardware, guys. Don't use the grade 5 stuff. It's not gonna work well. The strength on those is not very good. Initially I had this tacked in to make sure everything is square. Again, it's kind of like when you cut something, you measure twice, cut once. But with this, what I did is when the old beam suspension was in, I made sure that I had my axle center lines. So the first thing I did is I ran a bar all the way across, and you can see on the ground I have it on both sides of the truck. I indexed my axle center lines. That way I knew when I put this suspension in, I have at least one reference. But I also did a second reference here, that silver line. That is basically every Mustang 2 front end, they'll give you a measurement. Basically it's from this hole, which is your old leaf spring hanger there, and then 18.5 inches back is your axle center line. So I have that line, and basically took like a ton of measurements. You know, I wanted to make sure it's square, and I've got it pretty much dead nut square. And then I tacked it in, and then when I was happy, I fully welded those in. Again, I'm going to weld these supports in. Let me show you what we have for the bag mounts, if I haven't shown you those yet. I've painted a bunch of stuff, so like you can see my spindles are all cleaned up and painted. Here's the bottom spring bracket, and before there's like a hump that came in that held the coil. And so what I did, I just took an angle grinder, cut it all the way out, and then welded this airbag mount in. And then on the top part, I just welded a stud to the top here, and that's just gonna go straight into the top of the subframe. The subframe also had like a metal hump in it that I cut out, but you just cut that out and drill a hole where you need for the airline. And then you'll see for yourself on how everything gets lined up in there. I also have painted all the upper arms, and as you can see, I also got brake calipers. Now, I was going to rebuild the original ones, But as I was popping out the cylinders, which are in there because they're 4-pot cylinders, there's a lot of corrosion, and I didn't feel like it was worth the hassle to completely rebuild them. The rebuild kits are like 30 bucks. And I went online, I think I went to O'Reilly's, and remanufactured caliper was $60. I'm like, $60 for a brand new caliper? I mean, it was a no-brainer. So I bought 2 new calipers, got those painted. The next step for me is, like I said, I need to finish welding those plates, drop the subframe, get those painted, treat the entire frame and the firewall and whatnot, and proceed and go from there. Yeah, after that, I think the motor's gonna go in, so I'm pretty excited for that. If you have any questions on the progress so far, go ahead and leave a comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you see so far, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.